and welcome to Strategic Sales Queen's Claim Your Career Crown podcast. I'm Rachel, and I'm your host today, and I'm joined by the one and only Strategic Sales Queen, Lynn Whitbeck, your typical host. Today, we're going to be talking about why new businesses are launching and what it takes to make it. The businesses that survive and thrive are the ones that don't try to figure it out in isolation. If you get a ton of value from this episode, I would love to invite you to subscribe because it costs you nothing, and that's a great investment. Lynn is the founder and CEO of Strategic Sales Queen, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and typical host of Claim Your Career Crown and the Get More Clients show. She has been seen on NBC, USA Today, HuffPost, Chicago Tribune, and more. When she's not working with clients, Lynn loves visiting national parks, cooking delicious food, and playing Pokemon Go. Welcome, Lynn, to your own podcast.
Well, hey, Rachel, this will be a lot of fun. We're mixing it up today, so everyone have a enjoy.
Yeah. So, to get us started, why are so many new businesses launching in 2026?
Well, ironically, this is like an ideal time because, as you're ending Q2 and we're starting Q3, at least in Washington State, if you form your business in July, you pay half your first licensing fee because you get a discount for the second half of the year. And we're seeing this huge wave of entrepreneurship. And in January alone, there are over 500,000 new businesses that those applications that we saw on a national level. And that was up from
Wow.
36%. And
Wow.
I think there's a lot of different reasons for this. Obviously, our marketplace is changing. Uh, People have a vision for what they want their life to be like or what they want that work life balance to be like. They could have been displaced from their current role. There's just a lot of different reasons, but I think a lot of people, it's their an inner purpose and a desire to really live their best life, and that includes how they help and serve others. And creating their own business is one way to accomplish that.
That's fantastic. And I think that's actually a really good way to approach founding a business by taking your best lessons and experiences and talents and using them to serve others. I love that perspective. Now, we know that starting a business is pretty difficult. You have to put together a whole business plan, find all the resources that you need. But why is staying in business the real challenge?
Yeah, well, starting a business is easier than ever. I mean, you can literally go online to get your business license, right? And get that started. You can purchase your URL, all those things. But the stats still play out that people don't stay in business. So many businesses fail. And it's not that their ideas, it's not that they don't have a really great idea, but there's an element of sustainability. And I really think that to build a successful business requires a completely different skill set than you learned in corporate America and or in the small business or the mid-sized business that you are working for. I know that was true for myself. I always say that I'm the poster child of taking the long road around to travel a short distance. And one of the first things that I really think you have to do is to really identify your ideal client and what their thinking process is. Because it's great to create a product or a service, but are people going to buy it? Are they going to want to engage? And even if it's this really cool thing, if you aren't speaking your ideal client's love language, then you're going to really have a challenge. So, doing that market research to begin your business and to understand the perspective of your ideal client and your prospects is absolutely critical. And then mapping out a plan for how you're going to implement your business and engage people, because obviously sales is number one. You got to have a sales plan. You've got to get money coming in the door to sustain your business. And that's one of the biggest things that I see in what happens is that they haven't built a sales plan. They haven't done the work to acquire their ideal clients. They're focusing on other things, building a market, their marketing and getting on all the socials and building their website. And they're not paying attention to bringing money in the door. And you've got to make that cash register ring.
Right. And I know that we get so caught up in all putting out all these little fires as we're just getting things set up. We kind of can get lost in ourselves and stop thinking about what our clients would actually want or need. So, is any of those or something else the biggest early mistake that people make when starting and running their own businesses?
I definitely think not having a plan is absolutely critical because it's so easy to be distracted by everything. This morning, I was telling Rachel about an experience I had. I had done a speaker training on Friday, and it was not that it wasn't a good training, but the person who was giving it was, um, I talk fast. She talked at least 10 times faster. It was I felt overwhelmed by the information that she was just pouring into us, which was good information. But once again, then you get this like, okay, well, now should I be doing this? And is that a distraction? And this is what happens. We have so much coming at us, whether we're attending a live event, we're on a webinar or a Zoom training, or we're meeting with somebody who could be a potential great partner. There are just more than ever, things just bombarding us. The email alone, phone calls, social media, all of the things, the billboards as you drive down the freeway, whatever it is, it's a lot. And so having that plan and really having identified the roadmap that you're going to take and the journey helps you not get distracted by the attractions on the side of the road. So, and there are times where that attraction on the side of the road is like you realize this is a detour I want to take. This is going to add value to my overall journey. And this isn't an actual distraction. The timing is correct to do this.
Mhm.
But other times we have to take that step back and it's just like, okay, there's so much I could be doing. What makes the most sense for me, my business, and my ideal clients? It's like a three circles, that Venn diagram, and what's in the center. Okay. And if that you're not hitting that center patch of bringing all three of those pieces together, then you're just a hamster on a wheel and you're running and you're running and you're running. And ironically, you're not getting anywhere. So that's one of the most important reasons as why staying in business and the biggest mistake that people make, in my opinion, is just not having a plan, figuring that out, and then making sure that plan is aligned with their ideal clients.
Right. It's so easy to get distracted by the next shiny thing because everyone has brilliant ideas for you to get what you want. But it is so important to have that really solid, well thought out plan and then sticking to it, but being open to refining it as you go. So, when we're talking about making sure that you get your plan right and getting your sales plan right, um, is there a shift that business owners can make that would change their entire perspective and help them out on this?
Yeah. So, here at Strategic Sales Queen, we've developed a very unique product called Voice of the Client. And this is something that you can do on your own. You can also do it with help, with a guide at your side. But here's the thing, if you are not aligned with your ideal client thinking and you're not seeing things from their perspective, this is throughout your sales process. Your marketing's going to fall flat, your sales are going to fall flat, and you are going to struggle. And you're never going to figure out a sustainable, repeatable, and scalable plan and business growth plan. So the voice of your client is absolutely tapping into their perspective. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the formula. I'm going to give it to you. So it's a 6-step formula. And the first thing that you have to do is you have to identify where your client's at right now. What's the pain? What's the problem? What's the solution they're seeking? What's the pain in their side? The thing that keeps them up late at night? What is that, what I call what they want, need, or lack? You know, where are they at right now? What's that gap look like? All right. Now, the next step is what's going to be that catalyst that makes them recognize they have to make a change. Sometimes it's internal, but sometimes it can be your own messaging that makes them recognize like they don't have to live like this. They don't have to have their business running like this. They can make a change. What's that catalyst? And you absolutely want to understand the catalyst from your client's perspective as to why they're attracted to you and they've connected with you. And then why did they decide to hire you? Now, you may be thinking, well, how do I find out? Well, if you've done any work at all with clients, you ask them. Okay. You start by asking your own existing clients. Now, that decision to start working with you, what was that like? What was the experience like? And what were those initial results that they got? How did it make them feel? You know, you've got to tap into their feelings all the way through on every one of these phases because people purchase on their emotions first and they rationalize it later. And you also have to understand their motivations that are wrapped up in that. The most buttoned down person, the most dry, calm, seemingly emotionless human being is still a creature of their emotions. All right. They're there and they're under the surface, but they're there and you've got to understand them. And you've got to be able to tap into them to tap into then their emotions and their motivations of what drives them and what helps them make those decisions, the catalyst, right? To move forward. And then their experience of working with you and those initial results. What are the things that how they feel after 30 days? Immediate results that they can get. We live in a very accelerated timeline these days. People don't want to wait 6 months to get a result. You know, it's like right now. I mean, people leave websites if they don't click through immediately. It's like, okay, I don't have time while this thing churns. So you've got what are those immediate results that they're going to get? What have been the long-term results that they're receiving? What have they really seen for their either themselves, their business, their team, their community, wherever your product or service fills that gap? And where are they able to get to at the end of that? What's the new future look like for them? And understanding this arc is absolutely critical to being able to communicate in the voice of your client and to really tap into all of what they're feeling and their thoughts so that you can attract them quicker, right? You can write the right messaging, create the right content, the right lead magnets to attract them. And you can assess what you already have. You already have a lot of assets, blog posts, white papers, webinars that you're doing. Are they speaking that ideal client love language? How do you need to refine them so that you are doing that? And that's absolutely the most important thing. And that's the shift that you need to make because at the end of the day, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but you don't make the decision. It's your prospect who decides to buy from you, to engage with you, to hire you. So you need to think like your ideal client because those are the types of people you want to attract, not your worst clients. Don't interview them. You will attract your best clients. And that's another thing I really want to this is like a mic drop moment. You cannot be afraid to repel people. Okay? If people don't want to have a consistent, repeatable, scalable process, don't even bother looking at any of our content. Okay? Because if you just want to keep chasing stuff and you want to find the magic unicorn that's out there prancing and dancing, I'm not your girl. Yeah, it's that simple. We're not the company that you should be following. If you want that, then I'm not afraid to repel people because I'm not looking for the dancing unicorn. I'm looking for people who are willing to do the work in a consistent manner so that they can actually get that scalable business. So they can start attracting people, making it easier than ever, and so that they can actually help and serve more people and deliver on their promise. so that they can just really knock it out of the park. So that is the key shift that you have to perform so that your business can thrive and survive in this market that we're in.
Right. And we know that a real fast talker is going to repel you, but that might work really well for somebody else. Um, going back to that webinar, as someone who works on those voice of the client products that we provide, I always really love finding the language that people use when describing what they valued most about working with someone. Supportive, confrontational, fight for you, feeling held and comfortable. Amazing what you'll find there and all the differences. And sometimes you're surprised. So looking at the voice of the client, you say is an important shift. So what holds people back from making that shift? Why isn't everyone doing this?
Well, a lot of people will create like an ideal client persona and they'll use some kind of tool. They'll even just talk to ChatGPT, but they actually haven't done their homework to be talking to people who've worked with them in the past and to actually be pulling in their language. And so people miss this step because they think, oh, well, I already know what my product or service does. But you're projecting why somebody really wants to work with you or why they're going to hire you. And you're absolutely right. That voice of the client can be truly surprising. And when we did it for ourselves, after all these years, hadn't done it for us, it was the most surprising thing that I saw was that people felt that they had a safe space to work with me and tell me anything. And they felt that they were going to be, and they were respected, right? And that they had that 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 element of compassion and dignity in working with me. And I just naturally do that, but that's actually a selling feature.
Yeah.
And that's a piece of your language that we don't pick up on. We have our own spots or blind side, right? And so you don't want to be like Joe and get tackled from the blind side and break your leg and ruin your career, right? So that's the whole thing is that you've got to really tap into that experience and the emotions and motivations and the language that your ideal clients use in talking about you. And I really think that it's something that's so basic that it's sort of like our 1, 2, 3s. You just sort of forget, "Oh, I have to do this," but you have to do this step. It's the most important step, and then making sure that you apply that into every aspect of what you're doing. And I see this all the time when we're working with our clients. They come and they've put together a new marketing strategy. Had one recently, it was like this 14-step thing, 14 different, and it was like, not you have not applied your voice of the client work to this. And when we did that, we realized, okay, there's a few that are true valuable lead magnets, but you're burying the headline grabber in the bottom of the copy and you're not speaking to your ideal client to attract them and to get them to engage. Some of these things don't even work to be lead magnets. And some of the items would be great for longer form like blog content or white papers or other types of secondary content that you use in other forms of outreach and follow-up.
Hmm.
So, when you haven't applied that, then all of a sudden you're gonna start spinning your wheels and creating all this stuff that's not gonna it's like, trying to hit a barn door. Well, it's not that hard, but is it effective? So, you wanna get back to always looking at, does this align with the voice of my client? And over time, your business evolves and changes. You've got to make sure that you're keeping in touch and keeping on track with your voice of your client because it will evolve and change as well. And so that's one of the things that we'll have our clients will hire us back to do their voice of their client again because it's been 4 years or 5 years. And it's like, yeah, a whole bunch has changed now. And what you're doing and the work that you've been doing with your clients has evolved and changed. And we've got to recapture that magic so that we can apply it in everything that you're doing.
Perfect. Thank you for all of that. Um, so you've brought us through a lot of important information here. The importance of having a plan, especially a sales plan, and the shift that you have to take with considering the voice of your client and finding out what that voice is. But what can listeners do about surviving and thriving in their businesses right now? What should they do next?
Yeah, the absolute first thing that you've got to do right now is just get in tune with that voice of the client language. So look at the current reviews that you have. I mean, whether they're on Yelp, Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever they're at. Have you put them on your website? Have you done any video testimonial work? I mean, anything that you've got, start gather that all together, get it in a spot. Are they in different types of products or different types of clients? Sometimes we have different types of product lines or funnels, right? For different types of offers that you do or different types of product lines. You know, somebody who's going to buy a Ford Explorer is not necessarily going to buy a Leaf, right? I mean, they're yeah, very different cars, right? So get those buckets aligned and get that organized. So now what's the business that you really want to go after and that you want to pursue, that's more profitable for you, that's gives you longer term clients, repeatable business. I mean, what's a business? And then focus on that first and get that voice of the client really put together so that now you can leverage that in the outreach that you're doing so that you're attracting your right clients. You're going to where they're going to be hanging out, making connections with them, and then starting them down that path of how you connect with them, the discovery questions that you ask when you have conversations with them, the follow up that you do, even down to the negotiation and closing the sale and onboarding new clients. All of that comes out of the voice of the client.
Yes, it's so important. And I like sometimes it starts so simply, just collate all those reviews into one document somewhere. Lynn, thank you so much for sharing why new businesses are launching and what it takes to make it. Will you share with our listeners how and where they can find out more about you? Like here.
Yeah. You can literally go down and look at our show notes to connect with us. But, you know, I've got something that is really going to be helpful to the audience. And if you don't have it yet, go ahead and grab the Get More Clients checklist. So, this is a really quick opportunity for you to look at your sales and what are you doing really well? Where do you have gaps? Maybe really big chasms. Um, and what you can refine. And it's going to give you some quick tips and a quick win so that you can adjust some of your sales activities right away in about 15 minutes so that you can close more sales and get more clients. And you can get that. We've dropped the link into the live stream chat, and the link will be in all of the podcasts post production. But it's the Get More Clients checklist at strategicsalesqueen.com/checklist.
Perfect and easy to remember. Thank you so much, Lynn, for being a guest on your own show. And thank you so much to our wonderful listeners. This has been such an informative discussion, and I hope you go out and take a lot of this advice with you as you move forward today.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.